Hi, hello. By the time you are seeing this video, then the Hisuian Pokemon should be in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet via Pokemon HOME. There's a lot of Pokemon that have returned, but in today's video, I am just going to give you some raid builds that you can use using the Hisuian Pokemon. So you can bring these into 5 or 6 star raids, and hopefully the goal of this video is if you had a favorite Pokemon in Hisui, you can now use it in raids, or I can at least give you some advice on how to use it in raids. And if anything, hopefully you just have more Pokemon in your box that are raid ready in case, there are more raids. I think there will always be more raids, obviously, with 5 and 6 star with DLC. I'm sure there will be more raids, or if they decide to ever change raids, you'll have options. It's nice to have options, especially if you shiny hunted some of these, or you have alpha versions of some of these that you want to use. So, we're not going to do any Alola or any Galar Pokemon or any other Pokemon. We're just going to focus on Hisui Pokemon. And because there are a lot of Hisui Pokemon, there are some that just didn't really make the cut, or there's some Pokemon that do things better that we already have. And because there are so many Hisui Pokemon, we're going to skip starters for now. I think I'll do a whole nother video on starter Pokemon that would be good in raids. So I just didn't want to put like 20 Pokemon in this video. I think we got 7. We narrowed it down to 7. Spoiler, Hisuian Electrode, not great for raids, but let's start off with Ursaluna. Okay, so Ursaluna actually has really similar stats to Iron Hands, and it can kind of be used in the same way as Iron Hands. Now, some of you guys might groan at that, or some of you guys might be excited to that, but the important thing to note is the type difference. Ursaluna is ground and normal. Iron Hands is electric and fighting. So I wouldn't personally slap a fighting type move on Ursaluna because Iron Hands would do that better. But there are 2 specific moves that Ursaluna can take advantage of. But in the end, it's very similar to Iron Hands with a couple changes. The first change is its ability. We have Bulletproof, which some of you guys might know from the Chestnut raid that happened. Kind of useless, honestly. And we have Unnerve, also kind of useless. So the one we want to go with is Guts. Now, if you don't know how Guts works, it will increase your attack by 50% when you're poisoned, burned, paralyzed, when you're frozen, or when you're slept. Obviously, if you're sleeping or you're frozen, you can't attack. So those are not great. And there's a small misconception of if you're burned, then it cancels it out. But with Guts doesn't cancel out the negative effect that burn would have. So normally if you're burned in a competitive battle or going through your story playthrough, your attack stat is halved. But with the ability Guts, it does ignore that. So you still get a 50% boost while getting burned. So in that case, we want the 50% boost in raid battles. So we will be either holding a Flame Orb or a Toxic Orb. All in all, like Flame Orb, Toxic Orb doesn't matter too much, but most people prefer Flame Orb. That's why you see like Flame Orb, Conkeldurr in competitive over Toxic Orb, Conkeldurr in competitive. So I have 2 different suggestions for Ursaluna. And it does depend on your playstyle. And so take it for what it's worth. We've had 6 months of Iron Hands, and I think most of us watching this video knows how that goes. Iron Hands comes in, they belly drum, and then they die, and then they come back in, and then they belly drum and die. And the reason you've lost the raid is because of that Iron Hands user. We've had the other situation where Iron Hands comes in, it belly drums, and it successfully does whatever it was trying to do, and you win the raid. I think there's a safer option here. So the nice thing about Iron Hands is that you can usually hold a Shell Bell, or you can use a move like Drain Punch to get your health back after the belly drum. But because we're using the Guts ability, we don't really have that option because we need to have a status condition on us. And that's why we're running Flame Orb. So we don't have the option of using Shell Bell or holding a Citrus Berry. And again, like I said earlier, if you're going to Drain Punch, you might as well Drain Punch with an Iron Hands and get that same type attack bonus, which you wouldn't get here with Ursaluna. But Ursaluna does get access to Earthquake. So with a very high 140 attack stat and a 100 damage, 100 accuracy Earthquake move, plus a 50% boost from Guts, this is probably one of the strongest ground type attackers you can use. You can bring this to a Steel type raid. You can bring this to a Fire type raid. You bring this to a Rock type raid because you're going to do super effective against all of those. You do have access to Belly Drum, so you can give yourself a +6, but you don't have any health recovery like an Iron Hands user, as I just explained. You can go a safer route, which is the Swords Dance route, which I would actually recommend. If you do want to go the Belly Drum route, Ursaluna does get access to Charm, so you can Charm the raid boss first. That'll bring it down to -2, and then you can Belly Drum, and you will be taking less and less hits, and hopefully, ideally by that, you'll be able to heal cheer, or your teammates will be able to heal cheer. You also get access to Taunt, if you want to run at least another support option, or you can run Facade. I don't normally run 2 specific attacks. You could actually build a normal Ursaluna and terrestrialize normal and run Facade, or you could build a ground type Ursaluna and then just run Earthquake, and then you have room for flexibility. That's what I would do. I suggested that with Corviknight. I would do a Corviknight with a Drill Peck build, and then I would do a Corviknight with an Iron Head build, because you want to take advantage of that Terra. But in this case, if the move is super effective, so if you're using Earthquake against an electric Pokemon, it's always going to do more damage than Facade. And if it's neutral, so for example, if you try to Earthquake a Fairy type Pokemon, neither Earthquake or Facade is super effective, so Facade will actually end up doing more damage. So I think there's value in building 2 Ursalunas. If you really like Ursaluna, I think there's Terra, Ground, Earthquake build, and then normal Terra, Facade build. You could probably fit it all in one, but I don't know how. If your move is super effective, then always hit the super effective move. So, and if it's not going to be super effective, maybe don't bring Ursaluna and bring somebody else. But yeah, Ursaluna should do a ton of damage, and not a lot of Pokemon can compete with that damage output that Ursaluna can do with the high attack stat and the Guts ability. Our next Pokemon on the list is going to be Hisuian Qwilfish. And this is going to be a really weird set. So if you're one of those people that click through the video just to see the graphics and just to see the moves, you're probably not going to understand this without watching the video. But I guess that's your problem, not mine. I'm just trying to help. If you want to watch it, that's cool. So we're doing Hisuian Qwilfish over Quill. I ran the damage calculations, and Qwilfish takes hits way better than Overquill because of the Eviolite item. Both benefit from Intimidate. Intimidate's an incredibly strong ability, so if you bring this to a physical raid, you get that Intimidate right off the bat. And we're actually going to go with a support build that leans into the special attack. Now, if you look at Hisuian Qwilfish's moveset, you can see, or base stats, you can see that its attack is much higher than its special attack. But you are only weak to ground, so that's makes it a little bit different than like a Toxapex, because Toxapex has a couple more weaknesses. We're only weak to ground here. So by using Acid Spray, we can benefit and lower the raid boss's special defense. That would benefit us and our teammates. We can Chilling Water to control its attack even more. We can Acupressure to boost our teammates. We can Taunt if needed. And if we do decide want to attack, depending if you then you don't need Taunt in every situation, you can run Dark Pulse. Now, again, Qwilfish's attack is way higher than its special attack, but if we do Dark Pulse and Crunch, both are 80 base attack. Dark Pulse is special, Crunch is physical. One Acid Spray makes Dark Pulse stronger than Crunch, even though our special attack is 55 versus 95. So we're going to be Acid Spraying anyways. That's kind of why we want to bring Qwilfish. We want to bring Qwilfish to pair next to other strong special attackers. So if we're going to Acid Spray at least once, then we benefit more from the Dark Pulse over the Crunch. And obviously, Dark Pulse gets stronger the more you Acid Spray. So it's not optimal. He's not an attacker. It's nice to have one attack just to do some chip damage in between. I've said this in my other raid build videos. I'm so used to playing Final Fantasy 14 or other games as like a healer. And the thing is, you always have like one attack to like squeeze in between heals. But you're probably going to be Acid Spraying. You're probably going to be Chilling Water. You're probably going to be using Acupressure to boost your teammates. But if you can squeeze in a Dark Pulse every now and then, you're more than welcome to. Also, if you want to be harder to knock out, you can also run Minimize. This is completely optional. I do put 6 moves on these builds to give you some variety and to start thinking outside the box. You don't need to pick the exact 4. But if I give you like a place to start, I think it makes raid building a little bit easier. Also, we go with Bold because we are going to be leaning into the special attack. Again, even though on paper it's not optimal, 1 Acid Spray makes Dark Pulse better than Crunch, and you get the same type attack bonus with the Dark type move. So this is your little support Qwilfish. He'll come in, he'll Intimidate, he'll do some Chilling Water, he'll Acid Spray. He's full support, and he's a great little boy. I don't think I think you can make Overquill work, but I think this is a little safer and a little more fun to run. Our next Hisuian Pokemon is going to be Sneasler, which is my favorite Pokemon from Hisui, and we're going to use its signature move, Dire Claw. Sneasler's a little weird because his defense stat is not great. His special defense is okay, and his HP is okay, but he's benefiting from a very high attack stat. And speed doesn't matter too much in raids, and you're not going to see a lot of raid bosses, at least as of this video, hitting the 120 speed stat. So at least on that front, you're gonna outspeed everything. Really interesting type combination of fighting poison. And kind of a weird moveset, or not moveset, ability set, sorry. A weird ability set. We have Pressure, which doesn't matter at all in raids because the raid bosses have unlimited PP, so Pressure is never going to matter. We have Unburden, which is a fantastic ability for competitive. You'll see like Hawlucha, Unburden Hawlucha in like double battles, usually paired against with an Indeedee and using like usually Psychic Seed and then Unburden activating. Not particularly useful here. So I guess our last ability is Poison Touch. Which means if the raid boss attacks us, there's a chance that it can get poisoned, which at the end of the day, not that big of a deal because it'll do a little bit of damage, but the raid boss clears status conditions pretty frequently. We have a pretty good move list, but what I've decided here is we're going to do Dire Claw. That's going to be our signature move. It's going to have a chance to paralyze, a chance to sleep, a chance to poison. Those are just benefits. We're still hitting it with a very strong poison type physical move with the 130 attack stat. We have Rock Smash. Rock Smash has a 50% chance to lower the raid boss's physical attack by 1 stage. It also helps you get to Terra as well because it is considered an attack. You do get Stab on it. It's not a very particularly strong attack, but it's one of those moves that you could possibly open up with to fish for the defense drop, but while also getting you to Terra. You also have access to Bulk Up and Swords Dance. These are pretty interchangeable. I think Bulk Up's a little bit better because of the survivability. If you are fainting, you are losing raid timer, and you are having to redo your stats when you come back in. So I think having the bulk is a little bit better than having pure Swords Dance in the situation, but that's a choice. You also have Screech, also gets access to Taunt. I don't love that Screech can possibly miss. So how I would probably play the Sneasler is if you feel comfortable screeching because you have good support, you have like Light Screen Reflect coming from somebody else, go ahead with Screech. If you want to play it a little safer, I would maybe start with 1 or 2 bulk ups, maybe 1 or 2 Rock Smashes, and then switch to Dire Claw. And then at that point, you should be able to just clean up. We're going to put Shell Bell on this to give it health back. So a good combination of Screech / Bulk Up with Dire Claw getting you your health back as you do more damage with Shell Bell. I've talked about this before. I think Shell Bell is a way better health recovery item than something like Leftovers. But as for Sneasler on the fighting type side, I don't think like Brick Break or Close Combat or Low Sweep, I don't think any of those are particularly good. I think Sneasler kind of shines on the physical poison side. I think they're just better physical fighting Pokemon out there. So that's why we're leaning into the poison side. To be completely transparent, I don't think Sneasler is going to be the best, but I love Sneasler. So I know how important it is to have like a Pokemon you really like that you can bring into raids. So this is the best Sneasler I think we can make right now. Maybe that'll change in the future. But hey, again, if you like Pokemon, I totally understand that you want to use the Pokemon you like. So I want to use Sneasler. This is the Sneasler build I'm going to use. Our next Pokemon is going to be Wyrdeer. I've actually made Eviolite Stantlers before for raid builds. But Wyrdeer is actually kind of really cool. Wyrdeer gets access to 2 pretty good abilities. One is Intimidate and one is Sap Sipper. But I think Intimidate pairs really well with its signature move, Psy Shield Bash. So Intimidate will obviously lower the physical attack of the raid boss, but this is a tongue twister. Psy Shield Bash will increase your physical defense by 1 stage every time you use it. and it's a psychic type move. So Wyrdeer should only really be brought to a physical raid because 1, you're going to intimidate it, so it's going to do less damage to you, and 2, every time you use Psy Shield Bash, your physical defense is going to go up. So right off the bat, you're lowering, and once you start attacking, you are increasing your defense. You see none of that benefit if you bring Wyrdeer to a special raid. The Intimidate doesn't matter, and the Psy Shield Bash doesn't matter. So that being said, we're going to put Reflect on Wyrdeer because not only are you reflecting yourself from that physical raid boss, you are helping your entire team. That's why we have the item like Clay, so that lasts 8 turns. But more importantly, because that lasts 8 turns, that lets us go back to Psy Shield Bash and let us use that over and over without worrying about setting Reflect again. And then we have Body Slam because we do get the same type attack bonus on Body Slam, but more importantly, we can fish for a paralysis with that. So a 30% chance to paralyze. And then we also have Helping Hand. You could run Light Screen. There are some examples where the raid boss is both a physical and a special attacker. I think Goodra comes to mind. I think Goodra gets access, 6-star Goodra, I think gets access to Power Whip and Surf. So you could probably get rid of Body Slam or get rid of Helping Hand and squeeze in Light Screen, then Reflect, then Psy Shield Bash. I think Wyrdeer is just one of those Pokemon that will be really bulky and not die and be a pretty good support. Like, not only will Wyrdeer not faint, but the Reflect would be just super beneficial to your entire team. And because Wyrdeer is not like a Sneasler, it's not like an Iron Hands, at a certain point, you could probably stop Psy Shield Bashing and you can start Helping Hand your teammates and them do more damage. Next, we have a Hisuian Arcanine, which is in a really weird position here. So it does... Intimidate and Flashfire are the same, but the hidden ability changes here. So regular Arcanine gets Justified and Hisuian gets Rockhead. The other thing is Hisuian Arcanine gets more weaknesses. Arcanine is only weak to water, rock, and ground, where the Hisuian Arcanine is weak to water, rock, fighting, and ground. So you kind of get more weaknesses for not a lot in return. You do get a slightly higher attack. You get 115 here and you get 95, whereas Arcanine gets 90 and 110. So your HP and your attack goes up, and that's kind of it. So you could run Flashfire, or you could run Intimidate, but honestly, if you're going to run Intimidate, I think just run regular Arcanine instead. So that's why we're going to actually try to make the Rockhead ability work here. So if you don't know what that does, Rockhead prevents recoil damage, which is really good because you don't want any recoil in a 5 or 6-star raid because the more damage you do, the more recoil you take. So for example, if you were a Corviknight running Brave Bird and you Screech like 2 or 3 times and then you Brave Bird, you will knock yourself out at full health because you are doing so much damage to the raid boss, and the raid boss has 20, 30 times the amount of HP that you'll allow to do that damage threshold. And then you'll faint. So recoil moves are a big no-no. I'm sure some of you guys have seen an Iron Hands use Wild Charge and then instantly faint after being +6. Recoil moves are bad, but with Rockhead, we are allowed to use recoil moves, which is really great because this gives Hisuian Arcanine one slight edge here, is being able to use the move Flare Blitz. Now, Flare Blitz has recoil, but because of the ability, we don't have to worry about that. And there's not a lot of good physically attacking fire Pokemon out there right now that has decent bulk. Not that I can think of. Maybe the comments can tell me. So being able to do 120 damage, 100% accurate Flare Blitz from a pretty good physically attacking Pokemon and not take any recoil damage is really great. So we have an Adamant Hisuian Arcanine with Rockhead. We're actually going to run the Heat Rock because we will be able to then use Sunny Day to boost our Flare Blitz for 5 turns. We also have the access to Howl, so not only we can boost our attack, but we can boost our teammates' attack. And then we have support moves like Will-O-Wisp to have the physical damage from the raid boss. We have moves like Snarl in case they're a special attacker, and we can Snarl. Snarl will also let us build up for Terra. And then we can also use a move like Morning Sun to take advantage of the sunny day and get some health back. Although Heal Cheer also takes care of that, right? You heal yourself, but you also heal your teammates. So I think a lot of times with like recover or Morning Sun or slack off, I sometimes think that Heal Cheer is just better there, unless you're in like a solo situation. And then maybe you'll want to spam Morning Sun. You could just remove Flare Blitz and go with like a Head Smash kind of build. I don't like Head Smash's accuracy. I believe it's only 80% accurate. Yeah, so Head Smash is it's a really strong move. It's 150 base power, 80% accurate. You would not receive the recoil damage because of Hisuian Arcanine's ability, but I think just as a strong physical fire attacker with Howl and with Sunny Day, I think that's a more consistent build. And you can't really get that with regular Arcanine because you can't do Flare Blitz without taking the recoil. So regular Arcanine is kind of stuck using like Flamethrower, which is great on the special side. But I think you save regular Arcanine for like more of like a special attacker or just a flat out supporter. And then Hisuian Arcanine would be your strong physical attacker, fire attacker. Okay, our next Hisuian Pokemon is Kleavor, which a lot of these Hisuian Pokemon are physical attackers or have strong physical attacks. It doesn't work with Acid Spray, which is fine. There is no physical equivalent to Acid Spray. There is Flapple gets, I think it's called Grab Apple, which is it's a -1 in defense, but not a -2 like Acid Spray. And then Appleton gets Apple Acid, which is also special defense, but -1. I think there's like Salazzle gets a fire type move that is similar to Grab Apple, but Salazzle is a glass cannon, so it's not really that beneficial because Salazzle just dies instantly. That's okay though. Anyways, speaking of physical, Kleavor's here. The ability we want is Sharpness, because that will boost sword-like moves by 50%. So in this case, I have. Also, what's really cool about Kleavor is it gets Focus Energy. Focus Energy is a really, really great raid move because the raid boss can never clear it. I built a Samurott with Focus Energy for 7-star raids. I can't remember which one that was. I think it was Inteleon. And as long as you don't faint, Focus Energy will stay up. Doesn't matter if the raid boss clears, it will stay up. And so Focus Energy with Scope Lens, which is the item we're putting in Kleavor, will make any of your moves 100% crit. So if we're getting a Sharpness boost, and we're getting a crit boost, we're just doing a lot of damage just by the held item Scope Lens and starting off with 1 Focus Energy. You don't need to hit it twice. You don't need to hit it 3 times. You just have to hit it once and you are set. Again, I can give you guys Pokemon and I can tell you how to pilot these Pokemon, but if you're not paying attention or you don't know, I saw many Samurott using 2 Focus Energy in a raid, and you don't have to do them back to back. Just 1 Focus Energy. That's it. The second one doesn't matter. But to be fair, the game doesn't really explain that to you. I'm explaining it to you now. So we have Kleavor with X-Scissor, which I think used to get a critical hit increase in like Gen 5, and then I think they removed it. X-Scissor just does 80 base damage, 100% accurate, very consistent. But with Scope Lens and Focus Energy, you'll crit every time. You have Swords Dance to do even more damage. Kleavor does get access to Struggle Bug, which is pretty much like a bug type version of Snarl. So when you use it, you will add to your Terra, but you will also decrease its special defense. If you are bringing Kleavor to a special attacking raid, you need to start off with probably 2 Struggle Bugs before you even Focus Energy. You don't need to critical hit Struggle Bug, but Kleavor's special defense is lower than its physical defense. So it's important to probably start with like 2 Struggle Bugs, then Focus Energy, then switch to X-Scissor. And then you should be good to go. Kleavor isn't the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, but it's not a glass cannon. It does have some bulk. The other thing you could possibly do if you like to be a little adventurous is you could switch out Exizor for Fury Cutter. Fury Cutter will get stronger on its third. It'll do 40 the first time, 80 the second time, and then 160 the third time. And then every time after that, it will keep doing 160 as long as it doesn't miss or as long as you don't change the move. The problem with that is Fury Cutter is only 95% accurate. So if you miss once, you would have been better off just using Exizor. If you don't miss, Fury Cutter is better, but a 95% accuracy move in Pokemon is really a 50% accuracy move. The amount of times I've missed a Icy Wind or a Fly is way higher than it should have been. But that's a preference. You can just change out this whole build and you could still do Focus Energy, Swords Dance, Struggle Bug, and then switch out Exizor for Stone Axe. This is by the way, Stone Axe, Exizor, Fury Cutter, they all get the sharpness boost. The only problem, it's not even a problem. It's just if you're going to go the Exizor route, be Bug Terra. If you're going to go the Stone Axe out, be Rock Terra. This goes back to the Corviknight problem. You're not really benefiting from having Drill Peck and Iron Head on the same Corviknight because once you Terra, the other move is useless and you could free up that slot. So build a Steel type Corviknight, build a Flying type Corviknight. You free up that move slot. You get the Terra boost. It's way better in the long run. You already have a Rock type attacker, then go with the Bug Kleavor. If you already have a Bug type attacker like Slitherwings, maybe you want to then go with the Rock attacker that is the Stone Axe build. So if you like Kleavor, build both. Again, Focus Energy, Swords and Struggle Bug will stay the same. You could swap out Light Screen for Struggle Bug, but I think that because you have two other setup moves, Focus Energy and Swords Dance, if you have another move like Light Screen, you're just delaying yourself from terraing. So the nice thing about Struggle Bug is it pretty much does the same thing as Light Screen, but it will add to your Terra. So Light Screen is an option, but I think Struggle Bug is better, and that's why I took the 10 seconds to explain why that is. Hopefully that's helpful. And then finally, we have Hisuian Goodra. This is going to be our last Pokemon. It is Steel Dragon. It's an amazing type. I think the only other Pokemon that have this type are Duraludon and Dialga, I believe. It's a really, really good type. It does get two good abilities. I actually think all three are pretty good. Sap Sipper, Gooey, and Shell Armor. We don't want Sap Sipper at all. And the reason I say that is because even if we didn't absorb grass type moves, grass is 1/4 resisted. A grass Pokemon isn't going to do a whole lot to us anyways. So I don't think Sap Sipper is worth it. Also, raid bosses they're not the smartest Pokemon in the entire world, but they're smart enough to know that there's probably a better move they can use instead of a grass type Pokemon. Which leads us to wanting to use Shell Armor. Shell Armor prevents us from getting critical hit, and getting critical hit in a raid can definitely be the reason why you lost a raid. Is like, oh, if I didn't get critical hit, I would have been able to do it. Or like, the boss got 2 crits and that's why we lost. So I think Shell Armor is the ability we use here. We don't want to get critical hit at all. Like Goodra, Hisuian Goodra has a crazy high special defense stat of 150. But unlike Goodra, Goodra has a base 70. Hisuian Goodra has a base of 100, making it a very good raid Pokemon. Honestly, probably one of the more consistent raid Pokemon. It's only weak to fighting and ground. So really, in a lot of situations, you will be able to bring this Pokemon because not only does it have an insane special defense and an insane defense stat, well, not super insane. 100 defense is very good, not insane, but 150 special defense is insane. Goodra gets a Hisuian Goodra and regular Goodra both get access to Acid Spray. So they are special attackers, both of them. But with you have Acid Spray. You also have Chilling Water. Chilling Water is great control for physical Pokemon, right? Like I would always, as long as with regular Goodra, you couldn't really bring it to Fairy because you're weak to Fairy. But it was also a little bit harder to bring it to a physical raid because it was only 70 defense. Where it had 150 special defense. But because the defense is higher here and you have Chilling Water, it's just better. Like, yes, could Goodra do a physical raid because Goodra had Chilling Water? Yeah, of course. But because our defenses are better here and because we have less weaknesses and because we have Chilling Water, we just have a Pokemon that can survive very well. On top of that, we get Life Dew. So really, I wish that Hisui and Goodra had some like unique, wacky gimmick. It's just a better Goodra for the most part. And again, kind of the same issue. Again, not an issue, but you definitely want Acid Spray, you definitely want Chilling Water, and you definitely want Life Dew. Because of how bulky you are, and because you don't really have a way, you don't have like a Swords Dance, you don't have a Nasty Plot, you can't really boost yourself. But if you're Acid Spraying for your teammates, if you're Chilling Water for your teammates, you can also heal your teammates with Life Dew. But you want to either lean into Flash Cannon or Dragon Pulse. So build a Dragon Goodra and then put Dragon Pulse there, build a Steel Goodra and put Flash Cannon there. The other cool thing about Goodra is it gets a ton of other moves, so you can really customize this and go with what you want. But I think it would be very foolish to not run Goodra with Acid Spray, since both Goodra and Hisuian Goodra are special attackers. So I think that's kind of a given. I think Chilling Water is really beneficial. I think Life Dew is such a fantastic move, especially on a Pokemon that is as bulky as Goodra. So you have a lot of other options, but when I see raid builds that are like Goodra with like Acid Spray, Ice Beam, Fire Blast, and Dragon Pulse, I just think that like you could really be optimizing your support a little bit better. Like you don't get the stab off Ice Beam, you don't get the stab off Flamethrower, you do get the stab off. It's almost like raids really want you to not only match your typing, but they also want you to Terra as your typing, so you do the most damage as possible. But this all comes down to preference. Like if my Hisuian Goodra build has inspired you to move over your alpha shiny Goodra from Legends Arceus just to use it in raids because you love it so much, then that's a win for me at the end of this video. So if you made it this far, thank you. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I will do a separate video for starter Pokemon. I will do a separate video for legendary Pokemon. I will do a separate video for like Alolan and Galarian Pokemon. Just a lot to cover. I talk a lot, and these videos end up being like 25 minutes long already. So yeah, I hope you enjoy these Pokemon. Variety is good. Even if you watch this video and you build only one of these Pokemon, that is one more Pokemon in your PC that when you get to a 6-star or a 5-star raid, or even a 7-star raid, you can be like, I have a Pokemon built for this, instead of just using the 2 I have been using. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks for making it to the end. Good luck out there. If you need raid help, you can swing over by my Twitch stream. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.